It is raining again now. However, it was doing that before. I have been over to the establishment and had a tub bath with 2 kinds of pine juice in it. These fill the room with a pungent and most pleasant perfume. They also turn the water to a color of ink and cover it with a snowy suds, 2 or 3 inches deep. The bath is cool about 75 degrees or 80 degrees F, and there is a cooler shower bath after it. While waiting in the reception room all by myself, 2 men came in and began to talk. Politics, literature, religion. No, they're ailments. There is no other subject here, apparently. Wherever 2 or 3 of these people are gathered together, there you have it, every time. The first that can get his mouth open contributes his disease and the condition of it, and the others follow with theirs. The 2 men just referred to were acquaintances, and they followed the custom. One of them was built like a gasometer, and is here to reduce his girth. The other was built like a derrick, and is here to fat up, as they express it at this resort. They were well satisfied with the progress they were making. The gasometer had lost 1/4 of a ton in 10 days, and showed the record on his belt with pride, and he walked briskly across the room, smiling in a vast and luminous way, like a harvest moon, and said he couldn't have done that when he arrived here. He buttoned his coat around his equator and showed how loose it was. It was pretty to see his happiness. It was so childlike and honest. He set his feet together and leaned out over his person and proved that he could see them. He said he hadn't seen them from that point before for 15 years. He had a hand like a boxing glove. And on one of his fingers, he had just found a diamond ring which he had missed 11 years ago. The minute the derrick got a chance, he broke in and began to tell how he was piling on blubber right along 3/4 of an ounce every 4 days, and he was still piping away when I was sent for. I left the fat man standing there panting and blowing, and swelling and collapsing like a balloon, his next speech all ready and urgent for delivery. The patients are always at that sort of thing, trying to talk one another to death. The fat ones and the lean ones are nearly the worst at it, but not quite. The dyspeptics are the worst. They are at it all day and all night and all along. They have more symptoms than all the others put together, and so there is more variety of experience, more change of condition, more adventure, and consequently more play for the imagination, more scope for lying, and in every way a bigger field to talk. Go where you will, hide where you may, you cannot escape that word liver. You overhear it constantly in the street, in the shop, in the theater, in the music grounds. Wherever you see 2 or a dozen people of ordinary bulk talking together, you know they are talking about their livers. When you first arrive here, your new acquaintances seem sad and hard to talk to, but pretty soon you get the lay of the land and the hand of things, and after that you haven't any more trouble. You look into the dreary, dull eye and softly say, "Well, how's your liver?" You will see that dim eye flash up with a grateful flame, and you will see that jaw begin to work, and you will recognize that nothing is required of you from this out, but to listen as long as you remain conscious. After a few days, you will begin to notice that out of these people's talk a gospel is framing itself, and next you will find yourself believing it. It is this that a man is not what his rearing, his schooling, his beliefs, his principles make him, he is what his liver makes him. That with a healthy liver he will have the clear-seeing eye, the honest heart, the sincere mind, the loving spirit, the loyal soul, the truth and trust and faith that are based as Gibraltar is based, and that with an unhealthy liver he must and will have the opposite of all these. He will see nothing as it really is. He cannot trust anybody or believe in anything. His moral foundations are gone from under him. Now, isn't that interesting? I think it is. One of the most curious things in these countries is the street manners of the men and women. In meeting you they come straight on without swerving a hair's breadth from the direct line and wholly ignoring your right to any part of the road. At the last moment, you must yield up your share of it and step aside, or there will be a collision. I noticed this strange barbarism first in Geneva 12 years ago. In Aix-les-Bains, where sidewalks are scarce and everybody walks in the streets, there is plenty of room, but that is no matter. You are always escaping collisions by mere 1/4 inches. A man or woman who is headed in such a way as to cross your course presently, without a collision, will actually alter his direction shade by shade and compel a collision, unless at the last instant you jump out of the way. Those folks are not dressed as ladies and gentlemen, and they do not seem to be consciously crowding you out of the road. They seem to be innocently and stupidly unaware that they are doing it. But not so in Geneva. They're this class, especially the men, crowd out men, women, and girls of all rank and raiment consciously, and intentionally crowd them off the sidewalk and into the gutter. There was nothing of this sort in Bayreuth, but here the thing is astonishing. Collisions are unavoidable unless you do all the yielding yourself. Another odd thing here, this savagery is confined to the folk who wear the fine clothes. The others are courteous and considerate. A big burly Comanche, with all the signs about him of wealth and education, will tranquilly force young ladies to step off into the gutter to avoid being run down by him. It is a mistake that there is no bath that will cure people's manners, but drowning would help. However, perhaps one can't look for any real showy amount of delicacy of feeling in a country where a person is brought up to contemplate, without a shudder, the spectacle of women harnessed up with dogs and hauling carts. The woman is on one side of the pole, the dog on the other, and they bend to the work and tug and pant, and strain, and the man tramps leisurely alongside and smokes his pipe. Often the woman is old and gray, and the man is her grandson. The Austrian national ornithological device ought to be replaced by a grandmother harnessed to a slush cart with a dog. This merely in the interest of fact. Heraldic fancy has been a little too much overworked in these countries, anyway. Lately one of those curious things happened here which justify the felicitous extravagances of the stage and help us to accept them. A despondent man, bankrupt, friendless, and desperate, dropped a dose of strychnia into a bottle of whiskey and went out in the dusk to find a handy place for his purpose, which was suicide. In a lonely spot he was stopped by a tramp, who said he would kill him if he didn't give up his money. Instead of jumping at the chance of getting himself killed, and thus saving himself the impropriety and annoyance of suicide, he forgot all about his late project and attacked the tramp in a most sturdy and valiant fashion. He made a good fight, but failed to win. The night passed, the morning came, and he woke out of unconsciousness to find that he had been clubbed half to death and left to perish at his leisure. Then he reached for his bottle to add the finishing touch, but it was gone. He pulled himself together and went limping away, and presently came upon the tramp stretched out stone dead with the empty bottle beside him. He had drunk the whiskey and committed suicide innocently. Now, while the man who had been cheated out of his suicide stood there bemoaning his hard luck and wondering how he might manage to raise money enough to buy some more whiskey and poison, some people of the neighborhood came by, and he told them about his curious adventure. They said that this tramp had been the scourge of the neighborhood and the dread of the constabulary. The inquest passed off quietly and to everybody's satisfaction, and then the people, to testify their gratitude to the hero of the occasion, put him on the police, on a good enough salary, and he is all right now and is not meditating suicide anymore. Here are all the elements of the naivest Arabian tale. A man who resists robbery when he hasn't anything to be robbed of does the very best to save his life when he has come out purposely to throw it away, and finally is victorious in defeat, killing his adversary in an effectual and poetic fashion after being already hors du combat himself. Now if you let him rise in the service and marry the chief of police's daughter, it has the requisite elements of the Oriental romance, lacking not a detail so far as I can see.